Was it riding new colts or dragging those calves, the things he couldn't resist? Or was it being amongst men of his own kind that made him ride into the fray? Or just being out there, one-on-one with his God, that enticed him to go away?
All my life, growing up, I was like every other kid, wanted to be a cowboy. And I guess I followed through with it.
Long ago, something turned inside him and he wanted to buckaroo. Was it adventure or dreams that he was chasing? Or just something he had to prove? Had no idea what he was getting into or even if he could make a hand. Be careful of what you pray for if you want to follow a cowboy's band.
I use cowboy poetry to promote the lifestyle, to let people know that we're still out here.
If you listen real close, there on the wind that whispers across the sand, you'll catch the murmur of the ancients telling you what they can.
My name's Marty Blocker. Me and my wife Donna, we live in Cody, Nebraska. Me and Donna went to high school together. We got married in '75, and 3 days after our wedding, I had her back on a ranch 65 miles from town. If you ask me things that are important in my life, I can list them. First is God, then family, and then my job, horses, and then the cattle. To me, that's how it is.
Father in heaven, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for last night's rest, and we thank you for this meal. We ask you to be with us today. Hold us in the hollow of your hand. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
First thing you do in the morning is you go through your cows and make sure everything's secure. Then you can start your day after you deal with the troubles if there is any.
I was raised on a small farm. I had a great upbringing. I was taught how to work, how to do jobs, how to take care of livestock. You didn't realize you was being taught great responsibility at taking care of other living animals. When I was 16, I got a job with the Arnold Cattle Company taking care of horses. Finished high school, went to college, got an animal science degree, and I came out here into the Sandhills. I was 19 years old and did not know nothing.
They taught me how to ride and rope and how to spit and chew. Showed me how to braid real nice and tie them Theodore knots. I learned how to stay out there, be faithful to the brand, go without sleep with just beans to eat, taking whatever a horse can stand.
Some of these cows are getting nervous and they're going to look and pick up their calves. Others will just let you go by. It's just individual temperament is what it is for the most part. I've done everything I could to learn about the ranching business. You have to take care of that ranch. It's that ranch and that grass that makes you a living. Being stewards of the land is so important to us as ranchers and as cowboys. We're the perfect environmentalists. The Sandhills is such a unique environment. Basically, it's a gigantic sponge. We're very, very close on the largest aquifer in the world, the Ogallala Aquifer. You don't have to go into the ground very far. A lot of places along meadows, you just dig a post hole and you've got water. That aquifer is always there for us. And we have to protect that too. Rain comes down and it absorbs through the sand and replenishes the aquifer. And so we have windmills that pump the water out of the aquifer onto tanks. Our stock uses what they need, and the leftover water overflows right back into the aquifer. And in the summertime, cattle get hot and they want to relax and cool their feet. They'll go stand in that pond. That way they're not climbing into the tank and they're muddying up their drinking water. Moving cattle is very important in ranching. If you keep your cattle in one area very long at all, especially in these soft sand hills, pretty soon you're got the grass growing, and the hoof action actually tears up the earth, and almost plows it up in areas. If you have your cattle crowded in too much of an area, pretty soon you've got nothing but a blowout. For the most part, you try to feed your hay on clean ground, but on the other hand, you also want to feed your hay on bare ground so that the hay that's left over, that'll hold down the bare sand. It'll help the grass get started and kind of rejuvenate. When you move cattle to another area of your ranch and rotate from place to place to place, the hoof action actually cultivates the grass.
It's already hot this morning as I step out into the sand. How many times have I been here in this drama between horse and man? In the middle of this old round pen, my saddle and gear I've let drop. With his head high and tail flagging, the roan circles me at a trot.
The skills and the tradition of using horses is just something that a lot of us are trying to preserve. It benefits your cattle to work them with horses instead of motorized vehicles all the time. If you want to talk about using things that are environmentally sure, then you better be talking about horses versus making tracks up and down the soft sand hills with four-wheelers and ATVs and putting exhaust out into the atmosphere. Personally, if I had a job where I couldn't ride my horse, why would I be doing this? Because ranching is just hard work. If we didn't get to ride our horses, why would we be doing this? That's just my thoughts about it.
Why do you always wear those spurs and that old dirty hat? Are you trying to draw attention? How come you dress like that? Well, I can't help but smile and explain it's all about the pride. I don't want anyone confused on who I am or what I have inside.
Everything we wear and do in our culture, in our job, has a purpose. People ask, they say, well, boy, aren't them spurs? Aren't them cruel? No, actually, it's the opposite. The spurs is a means of communication between you and your horse. Cowboys wear vests, and we do that for a reason. Vest gives us warmth, but also freedom of movement when we're doing our work. Cowboys wear wild rags. Here again, you do this for warmth. You do this to ward off the rain and the cold and stuff. And it gets to the time of year, nobody has to wear a wild rag. It gets pretty warm. But boy, first frost in the fall, they feel pretty good again when you're out there for all day.
Every spring there's fewer of us. Might be all gone in a while. Ball caps, t-shirts, and four-wheelers are getting to be the style. There's not very many left that know how to rig a hackamore, or how to throw a box hitch, or what a cabling chain is for, or can take a corral of Belgian horses and put up a season's hay. Yeah, you might call us has-beens or just dogs that have had our day. Some of us have crossed over the Jordan. Some have just up and quit. Buffalo and greenies will shoulder us off of a world we no longer fit. But all of us have stepped up to a line that's been drawn into the sand. Oh, there's some that have sold their saddles, but most of us have took a stand. And we've tried to teach our traditions to our daughters and our sons, but in this 21st century, there's just not room for everyone.
I look around sometimes when we go to town and I see kids and they're just mesmerized by a little device in their hand. And people can argue, no, they're looking at the whole world. They're missing out on so much of their life. I sometimes wonder that I've went ahead and perfected skills that are no longer needed. You know, harnessing horses and driving teams and things that, making a haystack just right. And these are things that we don't do anymore. So you have to learn new things. You have to be able to change. Have you ever rode out in the morning amongst a cowboy crew and the air is brisk and fresh and the grass still holds the dew? Your horse is feeling strong and frisky as you go to leave the ropes. You walk him out a little ways and finally trot him into a lope. Somebody's colt warms up his back and he takes a couple jumps. It sort of ripples through the others and a couple try to hump. And the cowboys josh and holler as them ponies give a try. But when everyone gets them covered, you feel a tinge of pride. There's a whole lot of satisfaction with riding out in the morning on horseback and going, communing to your job that way. And then after a day of long day of hard work, then you have that commune back to the house, a horseback. And you're working with a living, breathing animal that's working with you. I don't know if the cowboy way of life, the ranching way of life, or the Western way of life is much different than life anywhere else. We've always got to be progressing to the next thing. But the beauty of it is to be able to look back over our shoulder and learn and reflect on the wonderful things that have happened behind us, but continually going on to what's coming next over the next hill.
So many times people ask me, why is it you do what you do when there's so many other things you could be doing that could make you a better living? Well, I think they're wrong because they don't understand. To be the first out in the morning while the air is still unused, watching the last star waning as the sky turns from gray to blue, hearing the whistle of the rango approaching the barn lights glow, and the sound the horses make as they shuffle, stomp, and blow. Ceremony of grain and saddle, communion between man and beast, leaving the corrals together, blessed by a display there in the east. Riding out into the cool and feeling the chilled airs tingle, attentive to the saddle squeak and the chains and rowels jingle. Hearing the chorus of some coyotes harmonizing with one another, or the bawling of some mama cow and a calf answering its mother. To have the privacy to worry bones in the graveyard of one's mind, and the privilege to be amongst companioneros of your kind. To be in total fellowship with the horse between your knees, and to come upon the secret places that no one else will see. Jumping whitetails out of their beds, perking at the flagging flecks, or spying the ritual of the prairie grouse dancing in the leks. Going farther, faster, higher than walking men can ask, like mythical centaurs phoenixed from ashes of the past. Plying a trade most forgotten in wind, snow, dust, and mud, taking on the challenges and tasting sweat and blood, handing down near lost traditions that highways tend to hide. Then some may begin to understand. That's why the cowboy rides.